I'm Pierce Brosnan. I'd like to talk about some of the roles that I've played in my life.
At 72 years old, Pierce Brosnan is remembered by millions as the suave, sharp-witted James Bond, a man who seemed untouchable in his tuxedo, martini in hand, saving the world on the big screen. But behind the glamour, the premieres, and the laughter he brought us in films like Mrs. Doubtfire and Mamma Mia, lies a man who has faced some of life's most crushing tragedies. This is not just the story of a movie star. This is the story of a boy abandoned by his father, a husband who lost the love of his life to cancer, and a father who had to bury his own daughter. And yet, through it all, Pierce Brosnan has shown the world that dignity, resilience, and love can endure even the darkest shadows. Tonight, we look beyond the tuxedo. This is the untold, heartbreaking story of Pierce Brosnan. Pierce Brendan Brosnan was born on May 16, 1953, in Drogheda, Ireland, the only child of May Smith and Thomas Brosnan. But his early years were far from the picture of stability. When Pierce was just a baby, his father left the family. His mother, seeking work and a better future, moved to London to train as a nurse. Little Pierce was left behind in the care of his grandparents. As a boy, he described himself as an only child, surrounded by women, lonely at the edge of things. He slept in a little iron bed in a small room, waiting for visits from his mother, who could only return occasionally. At age 11, Pierce finally joined her in London. He carried with him the deep ache of abandonment, but also the curiosity of a boy entering a new world. And it was there, in London, that he discovered the thing that would change his life forever: acting. A chance encounter led him to a local theater group. Suddenly, this quiet Irish boy found himself transformed under stage lights. Acting gave him not just a voice, but an identity. It gave him a place to belong. In 1975, Brosnan graduated from the Drama Centre London, and the boy who once felt invisible was about to step into a spotlight brighter than he could have ever imagined. In the early 1980s, Brosnan's career caught fire with the NBC television series Remington Steele. The show, which aired from 1982 to 1987, followed Brosnan as a smooth, mysterious con man posing as a detective. His charm and charisma electrified the screen. Women adored him, men wanted to be him, and Hollywood quickly took notice. Almost overnight, Brosnan went from a struggling stage actor to a household name. But Remington Steele came with a hidden twist of fate. In 1986, Brosnan was offered the role of James Bond after Roger Moore stepped down. The dream role was within his grasp. The press even announced him as the next 007. But at the last second, NBC renewed Remington Steele for one more season, locking Brosnan into his contract. The role of Bond slipped through his fingers, handed instead to Timothy Dalton. For Pierce, it was a devastating blow. The role he had been destined for, taken away by a contract clause. But Brosnan did not give up. Instead, he pushed forward, determined to prove he was more than just a TV star. Brosnan spent the late 80s and early 90s working tirelessly. He appeared in films like The Fourth Protocol and Nomads, and slowly began carving out a career beyond television. But Hollywood still saw him as the perfect Bond. In magazine spreads, critics called him the man who should have been 007. And destiny has a way of circling back. In 1994, Pierce Brosnan's phone rang with the offer he thought had passed him by. This time, there were no contracts, no obstacles. Brosnan would be James Bond. Brosnan's first Bond film, GoldenEye, 1995, was more than just a blockbuster. It resurrected the Bond franchise for a new generation. With $356 million at the box office, Pierce proved he was not just filling shoes, he was making them his own. He went on to star in 3 more Bond films: Tomorrow Never Dies, 1997, The World Is Not Enough, 1999, and Die Another Day, 2002. Each cemented his status as a global superstar. But Brosnan's career extended beyond 007. He showed comedic flair in Mrs. Doubtfire, 1993, romantic sophistication in The Thomas Crown Affair, 1999, and even sang his heart out in Mamma Mia, 2008. Awards followed, along with critical respect. Brosnan wasn't just Bond. He was an actor of range, willing to laugh at himself, stretch his craft, and take risks. While the world saw a movie star, Brosnan dedicated himself quietly to causes close to his heart. Alongside his wife Keely Shea Smith, he became a passionate advocate for environmental issues, supporting organizations that fight to protect oceans and wildlife. After losing loved ones to cancer, he also committed to cancer awareness and research, raising funds and using his platform to help others. For Brosnan, philanthropy wasn't just a side note. It was part of how he gave meaning to fame. But being Pierce Brosnan wasn't always easy. After Bond, he often found himself typecast. Directors saw only the suave secret agent, not the vulnerable actor within. The press scrutinized his appearance, his weight, his relationships. His family, often thrust into the spotlight, became targets for tabloids. Behind the red carpets, Brosnan longed for privacy. Through it all, Brosnan remained devoted to his craft. He spoke often about acting not as a path to fame, but as a discipline, a way of expressing truth. He pursued roles in independent films like The Matador, 2005, which earned him a Golden Globe nomination. In that film, he played against type, messy, broken, human. It was a reminder to audiences. Pierce Brosnan was more than just James Bond. He was an artist. Now, at 72, Pierce Brosnan reflects on a lifetime in the spotlight. He has spoken candidly in interviews about the loneliness of his childhood, the weight of grief, and the lessons of resilience. He continues to act, appearing in films like The Misfits, 2021, and even joining DC Comics' cinematic universe in Black Adam, 2022. But away from Hollywood, Brosnan finds his deepest peace with a paintbrush in hand. Painting, he says, is therapy, a place where his soul feels free. But Pierce Brosnan's life has been marked by profound tragedy. In 1980, he married actress Cassandra Harris, the love of his life. Together, they had one son, Sean. Pierce also adopted Cassandra's 2 children from a previous marriage, Charlotte and Christopher. But in 1991, Cassandra was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. For 4 years, Brosnan stood by her side as she fought bravely. In December 1991, Cassandra passed away at just 43 years old. Brosnan was devastated. He later admitted, "I was in a dark place for quite some time. It's just so unfair when the one you love is taken away." Years later, tragedy struck again. His daughter Charlotte, the little girl he had raised as his own, was also diagnosed with ovarian cancer, the same disease that had taken her mother. In 2013, Charlotte passed away at the age of 41. For Pierce Brosnan, the grief was almost unbearable. First his wife, then his daughter, both to the same cruel illness. Yet, Through tears, he found strength. He leaned on his second wife, Keely, whom he married in 2001, and together they built a loving family with 2 sons. Still, the heartbreak never left him. Brosnan carries it with grace, but also with a quiet sadness that lingers in his interviews, in the weight of his eyes, in the pauses between words. Pierce Brosnan's story is not just about fame or tragedy. It is about resilience. He remains one of the most beloved actors of his generation, not only for his roles, but for the humanity he carries. He has shown that it is possible to face the unthinkable and still choose love. That even when life breaks your heart, you can find the strength to go on. At 72, Pierce Brosnan is more than James Bond. He is a husband, a father, a painter, an advocate, and a man who has weathered storms few could endure. And that is why his story, heartbreaking as it may be, continues to inspire. Pierce Brosnan's life reminds us that behind every Hollywood smile lies a story we may never fully know. A story of pain, love, resilience, and survival. What's your favorite Pierce Brosnan performance? Was it his charm as James Bond? His warmth in Mrs. Doubtfire? Or his unexpected joy in Mamma Mia? Vote in the poll and let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story moving, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us as we explore more untold journeys of the stars who shaped our world.